Welcome to Michael Bowler and Grant Schroeder's RPS YouTube video. Today we will be presenting to you our finished rock, paper, scissors project. We have 3 buttons and 3 LEDs corresponding to rock, paper, and scissors, as well as a win, a loss, or a tie. An LED sequence plays upon power-up of the game. The player must press a button in order to start the game. Then they choose rock, paper, or scissors, and the matching LED lights up, followed by the computer's choice LED. Once that is done, the decision of the game is displayed, followed by a reset LED sequence. At the start of the game, a welcome and the rules of the game are displayed, followed by a command in order to start the game. Then the player is asked to press rock, paper, or scissors. Once this occurs, the computer's choice is displayed along with the result of the game. Once this is done, the process is repeated once again. Here's another example of our RPS program in action. Player starts the game, chooses paper, computer chooses rock, therefore the player wins.
On our board we have 2 leads going to both power and ground. These power and ground feed into our 3 LEDs and our 3 buttons. Each LED has a resistor before the LED, which uses up the volts so that the LED receives required 2 volts. After each LED is a lead that goes back to the raven. A low value to the lead turns the light on. Each of the buttons is an active low circuit where when the button is open, this circuit is not complete and it is completed once the button is pressed. There is a resistor before the button that takes away the voltage once the circuit is completed. So when the circuit is not complete, the lead that is placed before the button reads a high value. After the button is pressed, it reads a low value. These values are sent via pins to the raven. Now we will explain our code. To start out with, we initialize where each of our LEDs and button inputs and outputs are. Then we initialize our variables as well as the time variable for the LEDs. We also set our LEDs as outputs and the pins going to the buttons as inputs. We let the player know that the game is starting by both printing and using an LED sequence. Then in our void loop, which runs the game over and over again, we turn all the LEDs off, we print the rules and a welcome, and tell the player to press any button. We make sure to have this important step where the buttons are all reset to high so that it enters this while loop where we check to make sure that the player presses the button. Once the player has pressed the button, we continue on with the code and wait until the player has removed their finger to continue on once more. Then we ask the player to choose rock, paper, or scissors with the printout, and we start reading once they have pressed, and then we stop reading once their hand is released. But while they have pressed it, we go through these series of if statements where when they press it, we light up the corresponding LED, then we turn it off after an amount of time, and then if they choose rock, we record it as a 1, paper as a 2, and scissors as a 3. At the end of the while loop, we read the button values again in order to exit the while loop and delay. Then we use a random number generator to determine the computer's choice. Then for each rock, paper, and scissors, we light up the LED corresponding to the computer's choice and print the choice as well. Next, we determine who wins the game by using a series of if and nested if statements. For example, if the player chooses rock and the computer chooses rock, then we print that they tied and light up the LEDs in the sequence for a tie. Similarly, if the player chooses rock and the computer chooses paper, then we show that the computer wins and light up the corresponding LED sequence. And if the player chooses rock and the computer chooses scissors, we print that the player wins and use the corresponding LED sequence. Then we do the same for each of the following player choices. At the end of each series of decisions, we delay it by 2 seconds in order to allow the player time to see who wins. Then we light up a shortened version of the opening LED sequence to signal the game resetting.